Hello and welcome. I am Peasant. I'm going to be doing a review of Spirit Island Digital today for you and a playthrough. I'm going to play on a pretty easy level so that I can mainly talk about the game rather than having to do too much strategizing. But first, I'm going to just talk a little bit about the options that are available in game, and it's probably worth knowing I've played quite a lot of the physical game, about 90 games of it, generally at a reasonably difficult level. So I know this game fairly well. And just to cut the long story short, I think it's an incredible board game, and this is a great implementation. I'm going to talk more about that in due course, but for now, I'm going to jump into the options. So, Pam. So, as you can see, you've got that opening screen. You can actually select these things before it's finished loading, but obviously you kind of need to know what's there. There's like a how to play stuff. We don't really care about most of this. The main things that are interesting are there's a quick play mode, and I do have a little gripe about the stats because often, especially if you're someone that's just messing around, your stats will be a bit weird because of all the quitting. And you can actually just start a game really easily, so you could pick a difficulty and then bam, straight in. This is a game with Serpent. This has just been released, this DLC, and those options are in the way. Let's get rid of that text. Bam, professionalism at its best. So bam, straight in. That's great. I'm not going to do this. So let's look at some more options. So we've got kind of visual options here, all the kind of stuff you'd expect, but there's also some really nice stuff here. You've got this alternative style thing, and I'll show them off a little bit more once we're in game. So you've got the quick play, which I think is great. That's what I do when I'm just playing, chilling out. Typically, if I'm streaming this, I'll do something that's a bit more kind of planned. So this is the other way of starting a game. There is a story-based one, I'm not so into that, but then I've already played a lot of Spirit Island. So you just pick your bit in here. It would be nice if there was a randomizer in here too, some description. So I'm going to go with this here. So the options along the bottom will be familiar if you know Spirit Island. If you don't, well, there's quite a lot to Spirit Island. You've got the adversary options down here. One of the nice things is that the reduced difficulty options that you might have to hunt through rulebooks in are actually just here. Unlimited undo, omit initial spill, bonus spirit growth, no black card. Spirit Island is a difficult game. Obviously, like any game, some people find it easier than others, but it's a difficult game, and these are nice things to have. There are also all the scenarios in the base game are in there too. But for the purposes of this playthrough, as I'm mainly going to be talking about the game rather than trying too hard to challenge myself, I'm just going to put it on a very basic level. So I'm going with Prussia 1. So yeah, it's nice because it tells you the difficulty level here. So for context, my comfort difficulty is about 9, maybe I'm lying to you there. So yeah, so let's actually get into the game, and I'll just show off those options a little bit. So I need to actually switch to that. Bam. Okay, get my face out of the way. So as you can see, this UI is really nice, and this is the kind of flat option here. So if I could go into 3D Classic, and then instead you've got something that's a bit more like a physical representation. I quite like this, but I prefer 2D Classic. Let's have a quick look at 3D Textured. Again, I'm kind of old school. I prefer this 2D Classic, but there's something else that's cool as well. You've got this alternate balance style, thematic style, which is interesting. This is obviously a feature that's not in the regular game, but that's where you can actually just change the visuals and get the thematic look, but the balance board, and vice versa. But we're going to keep it straightforward. We're going to go with 2D, but obviously you've got the very standard kind of options there. And I'm going to be playing as River. So if you are new to Spirit Island, this is the Spirit I always recommend because they're the most straightforward. I'm not going to fully explain Spirit Island here, so this is more aimed at people that want to look at the digital game. So this is the simple Spirit because the tracks are straightforward. You've also got this very powerful innate power. So if you just aim for these elements here, you kind of on for a winner. And also your start cards basically are enough to trigger this very powerful innate that will do 2 damage to each invader. So it's a very nice Spirit to start with. One other bit of general, how reviewy do you want to be here? I think this is great. But so I'm just going to play through this, then conclude, and you can play obviously with more spirits. I like to play with one, especially if I'm trying to do something else at the same time. One good strategic thing to do is you almost always want to be placing presents if you can. you always want to be placing presence. So obviously with river, your presence counts as a sacred site. So generally, most spirits have one stronger track and one weaker track. With this spirit, this innate is so powerful, but obviously it requires you to be playing at least 4 actions to trigger it because there's this 4 water here. So I will be trying to charge down this bottom track, especially as River's innate powers, River's Bounty and Boon of Vigor, help you get your power up. So I will be doing this. One little tweak that might be nice is that when you are placing these, if it actually would tell you what range you're at. So we've got jungle builds coming up, but my main priority is just get into this area because it will give me adjacent access to a sacred site because of River's ability here. Okay, so we're into turn 1. Now, although I say I wanted to play with a relatively straightforward one, I actually don't play with River very much. So we'll see how this goes. River's Bounty is a bit of a no-brainer. What it's going to do is gather Dahan into a region and make more Dahan. This is actually kind of unusual to be able to make Dahan. Generally, they're a fixed resource for most spirits, but not for River. And pushing is super powerful. It may not be that obviously powerful at first if you are just getting into the game, but it's very, very powerful. And if you can trigger your innate powers, that's almost always a worthwhile thing to do. In fact, I don't think I can avoid triggering my innate powers with my first stuff. So we've got a jungle build. So there's going to be a build here. So pushing, we could save a Ravage. We can't actually prevent the build with what we've got because we don't have the energy for the Flash Flood. So what I'm talking about there is that this is a card that does damage. If I say killed this Explorer, then they wouldn't build in the build phase. But yeah, I'm not going to be able to explain the whole of Spirit Island. There's a few moving parts. So this is some kind of weird, shonky beginner's guide now. So what I probably want to do, though, is push a town. And I could do that with this innate in the slow phase. And what that will do is it will prevent Blight going down in a Ravage. But I might well decide to just let one of these areas blight, and that's a key strategic decision in this game, is just letting some places blight sometimes. So yeah, let's go. We could even wash away. Why not? We could actually prevent blight going down in turn 1. So yeah, let's just try that. And this could be famous last words. I know that I'm not live in front of an audience, but re-recording these kinds of things is a bit grim, so I'm still feeling some kind of pressure here. So there is a fast phase and a slow phase. This spirit, I've chosen to do blue actions, which is the slow phase stuff. So you notice that it's just whipped through the stuff that the AI is doing, which is basically this deck of cards here determines what's happening. So they have just built in here and they've explored into the mountains. So I could use this pushing ability to prevent a city build, which might be quite nice. But the thing with this spirit is you want to be clustering everyone together to use this massive flooding ability. And kind of, if you want to just keep it in-house, with this flash floods, if it's in a coastal land, then you'll actually be able to do the extra 2 damage to kill cities, which is obviously very nice for everyone. So we could push this town into here. And what that'll do is it'll take this Ravage down from being a blighter into doing 1 damage, which isn't enough to place blight. And also this Dahan will be able to then clear out the land. So we'll do this here. And again, I am trying to play through this kind of quickly. It might not be the wisest thing I've done, but I am not a wise person in a lot of ways. We'll River's Bounty in here. And here's a very common way to just mess up in this game is... Actually, I think we definitely want to leave that guy in there. We'll bring this fella in here. One way that's very easy to mess up with this game is the targeting. So I would recommend that unless you like punishing yourself, to use that ability, especially when you're new to the game, to use the Infinite Undo's ability until you get used to the targeting stuff. So for example, this River's Bounty is a naught range targeter, so it has to be in a area that you have presence. So that's a nice thing to not be doing. So what I might in fact do here is wash these guys into this desert, and this can be our potential kill zone a few turns in the future. And I can say things like this because I have played quite a lot of Spirit Island, so I've got a sense of how the game pans out. He says that these, of course, are famous last words, and I am doomed. So Again, you almost always strategically want to avoid this action. Whatever is the reclaim cards action is generally your weakest action, because most of the time, with most spirits, doesn't mean you're placing presence. And placing presence, that's the real deal. In fact, here you've got this reclaim 1 ability. These reclaim abilities on your spirit track are super powerful, so we're going to go with this straight away, and we're going to try and get it so that the whole map is accessible with to sacred sites. So sacred site is where you've got 2 presents in the same area. So we can just go here. And river has because of river being who they are, they're a single presence in a wetland. These blue areas counts as a sacred site. So I basically now have sacred sites in or adjacent to all areas of the map, which is kind of what you want. So I've got this. So I'm now doing the Reclaim a Card ability. River's Bounty is a nice one. Having more Dahan on the board is super strong, but Wash Away is also going to be pretty useful. And we're also up to 3 actions. Now, I think you can actually be very precise with this, because once you get to 4 actions, which should hopefully be next turn, I might then want to reclaim all and then be able to trigger this effect, doing 2 damage to each invader. Let's just do a little bit of thinking about this. And fair warning with Spirit Hunt, it's a very thinky game. This is on one of the easiest difficulties. And if you're playing on a hard difficulty, you might just be there going, for a long time. So, yeah, please bear that in mind. This is not a light game. So, this is going to be our kill zone. Do I want to try and rush to this? Do I want to rush to doing this straight away? Well, probably, because that would be pretty sweet. But I think actually we want to clearing the internal area is pretty good. There is a build here. We can't actually prevent this build with the cards we have, because these are slow powers. The build will of course happen before then, so this might be an area that blights fairly soon. We could even go with gaining a power card here, getting up to 4, gaining adding a presence, and it might be a nice time to just pick up another good miner. Because if we were to try and aim for doing this next turn, that would basically mean playing all our cards, which would be 0, +2, +1. So 3 energy. We should be able to afford to do that. And we would clear a lot of space. Getting the tickles in now. Some of this liquid. So yeah, this is on an easy difficulty, and I'm already falling into the tank. This is the thing. If you're into the lighter games, this might not be the game for you, and that's okay. That's acceptable. I'll not banish you immediately. So this is going to become a city, but it would be nice to clear this out. But I can't really do anything about this now. So that's going to go. This is also going to become a city. So maybe I do want to be doing the reclaim cards and then doing this next turn and clearing out this area. If this area, except because the build is going to happen this turn, making this a city and a town, this ability here is a slow effect, so this area will have already kind of lapsed by that point. So it's here I am saying that this is an easy spirit to use and falling at the first hurdle. What I could do though is flash floods and just take care of the area. So that's probably the right thing to do. We do have this reclaim to make. I'm going to go with River's Bounty. And we are up to 3 actions. We've got it's asking me to play cards now. So what growth that? Jesus, I might have just made them. Oh yeah, I went with double there. So next turn, I can't actually do this. So what am I yammering about? We definitely want to flash floods, because that will do an extra damage on the coast, killing this town, and then this area will build a town instead of a city, which I can then push. And we could go with just River's Bounty, I think is pretty solid. We'll get the massive plane, so we can kind of we can save this area, and this area will be a bit of a sad place in the future. Oh, I forgot to do this because I'm so used to not having fast powers. Oh, I do actually have the option of playing Boon or Vigor, so I will do it because that will actually bump up my massive flooding. So yeah, showing my lack of experience with this particular spirit. So yeah, we definitely want to flash floods over there. And here we're actually assigning damage here. This is quite straightforward. You're just kind of clicking where the damage goes. And I've got myself my first fear. Well, would you look at that? So we've got the Ravage there, and you see here this Dahan kind of fought back, cleared that space. Lovely job. Yeah, and this is going to be a bit of a sad area because this is going to be very hard unless I do gain a card that I can use to defend here. Then this will be sad time central. We definitely want to leave some Dahan in that area. We could gather some over here though. Let's take this. Let's just take a couple over there. And we've got massive flooding, so we can actually do that in here, and that's going to save a blight going down here. So a very common mistake that newer players make is to overly prioritize preventing ravages, and that's actually a really tricky, a really difficult one to actually to get right. And I can't necessarily claim to be doing that all the time. But so here I'm deliberately letting this region here go. This area now is clear, so we'll still have a healthy island, which is generally what you want. And this is still base game, so there aren't any super nasty unhealthy island cards in there. So it would be, if I can avoid the reclaim, I'd say a good rule of thumb is to avoid the reclaim, because you're just not making any progress on your tracks. But what have we got here? We've got a build here and a build here, and we could gain a power card, get up to 4 actions on this track, so that when we do reclaim, we can do our big attack, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to... And generally a good rule of thumb as well is you look at your cards before you add your presence, because the one might affect the other. And with this spirit, you almost always want to go minor early on, because you've got such a great innate power that, and you don't necessarily have the energy to spend on major powers early on. And obviously it's nice to have the icons matching up. So what I'm talking about there is here blue icons are the priority, because that triggers this super awesome innate that you definitely want to trigger whenever you can, because it's basically how you win with this spirit. However, I have the gods of card shuffling have not given me a blue icon, so I'm gonna have to make do with this bobbins. Yellow and mountain are on my other good ones, and constancy is super great, so I'm gonna take that. But I'm pretty sure that if there was a card here that had a blue icon, that is what I would have picked. The other thing to bear in mind is one of these might just be useful immediately. Let's just think about that. We can potentially push towns. Is that useful? Or even, we could prevent a build actually. That is pretty useful. So yeah, you often have the kind of, I could prevent this build here, and this area already has blight in it, so that's worthwhile. We could push this into our kill zone. This area we can let build. So actually I think I'm going to go with Call to Isolation here. And then we've got the extra, and I'm going to take from here to get us up to the magic 4. And it really is magic. So got incoming Ravage here in the mountains, so there's no point throwing this away. We might want to, it doesn't really matter where I put this, so I'm going to put it here. Okay, so we get 1 reclaim to go with our Call to Isolation, and we could just go Flash Floods. It's kind of a bit vulnerable. I might undo this. So there is an undo button down here. So we can do Call to Isolation, push this person into here, and then we can Flash Floods to destroy this Explorer. The trouble with that is it's going to cost me 2 energy, which means I'm not going to have a lot of energy next round, though I actually only do need 3 energy to trigger this effect, and that's the main thing. That's going to be clearing out this area here, which should be pretty damn juicy. So I might just undo that. So the undo is really nice. The one thing you've got to be careful of is that if you've revealed new information, like you're looking at cards that are available. Unless you enable the special undo feature, you won't be able to undo beyond that. So it's not a bug, that's just kind of how the game is. Or I could wash away instead to save some energy. Now, let's prevent the build. I think that's wise. So we will take Flash Floods. And then we'll play both of these. Oh, we're not trigger RNA, and that's the misery of picking up miners that don't have that don't have your icons on. So we are going to target this land and push this bloke. This bloke is getting pushed in here. And I'm going to go in here. It seems wasteful, but preventing a build, we do have our first blight on the map there. And if one more blight falls, then that means we're going to get a blighted island. But in base, that's not a big deal. It's just going to cost me some presents, and I've got loads of presents. So, again, not a huge deal. But don't be too scared of blighting your island. So, Brandenburg, Prussia, they have an escalation effect, and I have to add a town somewhere that doesn't have a town. So, and again, a good rule of thumb is don't add it somewhere that's about to ravage, unless you want that to happen, unless that's what you're into. So, obviously, somewhere that's about to build isn't ideal either. But what I could do is... Oh yeah, the call to isolation is horrible. So I'm going to put it on the coast in this jungle, because there isn't a jungle card here. The other option would be in a desert. I can't put it in here because it's already got towns in. And I don't want to put it here because I don't want to put it there. I'm just not going to explain myself on that one, I'm sorry. So, we are now up to the magic 4. We can now reclaim our cards. We've got ourselves... Oh, we don't have enough energy. God damn it, peasant. So, so I can't just blitz this immediately. That is poor maths. Very poor maths. And we've got this. This is a slightly nightmarish situation. It can be the double thing, but actually it's okay. This area, when the ravage, these Dahan will fight back, and 1 is not enough to trigger the blight. So actually this is okay. It's almost a reprieve. So what we can be doing, in fact, is actually just pushing people into this area, and then maybe next turn we'll do this big wipe. Or we could even think about doing it in here. But the trouble is we don't have the energy right now. But we've done this. Oh, has it not given me the energy yet? Maybe it'll do that in a minute. So we want a miner, and ideally we want a blue miner. Okay, we finally got one. And Vents is one that costs me energy, which I'm not that happy about. But it is still cheaper than Flash Floods, so it might be good. But also, we might have the mountains we need, potentially. And so generally, I'd say, as general advice, you want the icons. That's what you really want most of the time, unless something really just helps you out in the immediate situation you're in. So I will go for the icons. Also, having more cards with blue on means I'll be more able to do my big innates multiple times. So we could do some pretty serious damage in here, say. Yeah, okay, we do actually have what we need. We've got what we need. What are you going on about? In fact, we can even... Yeah, we could just wipe out this area here. This ravage we don't have to worry about here. It would be nice to do something about that. Or we could actually get rid of this. These guys here. And Steam Vents is not a card I use very often. Let me just remind myself what it does. Just destroys... Oh yeah, we could even use it to clear out this area. So that's a no-brainer. And we're going to use our energy things that conserve, so we're at 0 cost. So we might even go into reclaiming our whole hand again, which is a bit... I don't know, it generally doesn't feel great, but it could be okay. The massive flooding is gonna really help us, and we're going to be just kind of clearing this land. Which is gonna feel nice. And I think if we can push a town into this area before we slap it, then that's kind of ideal. But yeah, mutter. Okay, so we'll finish playing the cards, and we'll obviously do this on us straight away, gain a little bit of energy, and we've got the steam vents, so we can do that in here. Then we've got the ravage there, which doesn't matter. We've got the Prussia effect. Okay, that's something we can push potentially with Wash Away. And that's in the Explore. So this is something I sometimes get confused on the digital version, is that actually these are about to shift over. So yeah, that for me can be an easy thing to kind of I have made, especially on the higher difficulties where it really matters. So we've got the Prussia effect. I think it doesn't really matter because we're going to push them immediately into. Actually, no, we're probably going to clear this jungle first. So we probably want to make sure it's not in somewhere that's about to do something. So yeah, we'll put it in this coastal mountain. And now we're into slow. So we've got our... Oh, I've messed it up. How the hell did you mess that up, peasant? Because I didn't use yellow. So, God. It's a masterclass in idiocy. This is the trouble with trying to review a game and play at the same time. But we'll get there in the end. We will... God. Right, so we've got Wetland Ravage. We've got this build here. We probably do want to just... Well, I've disappointed even myself. Right, we don't have defend cards, so I'm not too keen to throw my Dahan into harm's way, but we do have this card here which is quite nice with lots of Dahan. Wow, I've really flubbed this a little bit. Hope no pros are watching. That's yeah, the embarrassment. Though, as someone that actually live streams, I'm used to embarrassing myself on the internet, I suppose. We'll just gather some people there. So there is a Wetland Ravage. We don't care about that. There is this build. We will prevent the build. So I am still doing some fairly... I'm not completely cretinous. Just slightly. And we can do some damage. Yeah, so with this spirit, you do generally want to just... You kind of just cluster everyone somewhere and then just murder them all in one big go. If you can actually remember to trigger your innate. So yeah, the crucial thing there is not having the yellows and blues. But yeah, so we've cleared our Ravage areas. And if this does look like it's too easy, this is on a really easy difficulty level. So it's it's not really punishing me for my incoherence. So I probably want to... I mean, this build is going to happen. I could prevent it with Flash Bloods. And this is where the real power of this Reclaim 1 goes, because I can just add presence as much as I like. But it would be nice to gain a minor here. But actually the double presence is good. It's going to gain me extra energy as well as having extra plays. And getting presence out is it's never bad. Never ever. Well, it probably is bad in some circumstance, but... So I will get to take something back. And again, we're probably going to go Reclaim All next turn. So we probably just want to set up a big slap somewhere in one of these two areas. And now we're getting a proper energy income, so we probably can just do this. This is actually going to do anything. Not really. I could push a hut around. Well, so I will get some icons out of that, which make no difference. Never mind. Okay. Alright, so we've got our Flash Floods. So we can prevent this build here. It is costly, but it's okay. You can be a little bit wasteful. And we could just push a hut around. I didn't even need to do that. So yeah, that is a little note. You don't actually need to use your cards that you play. You can in fact just play them for the icons. They'll still cost you to use, but you will it's still pretty good. So this is in the Explore, so I'm going to be immediately pushing it probably into here. Though this mountain has shown up, so so I am going to I'm going to push it into here. This might blight and cascade, but we'll survive. It'll be fine. Don't you worry. So we can... Oh, actually, I can hit this next turn. because it's a build next turn. Yeah, so what we're going to do, we're going to be slapping the hell out of this area next turn. So hold on to your hats, ladies and gentlemen and others. Yeah, so I'm not going to use that power. It's going to warn me, which is a nice touch. And because, so I am kind of trying to think ahead here, so we will reclaim all. And I need to make sure I trigger my innate this time, rather than not triggering my innate, like a clown. So I definitely want yellows and blues, and this is nice. Removing Blight is awesome. Gift of Power is also awesome. But I need to make sure I've got yellow-blue cards, that's a priority. So I do have, because at the moment I'm basically forced to play all 3 of my starter cards. I mean, they're all worth playing. So, but yellow-blue is the priority. Removing Blight is just, that's just the icing on the cake. I'm a big fan of the old Blight remove. So, yeah, we are going to be wrecking this area here. We're going to be slapping it into next week. And we're going to be setting up to wreck this next turn. And hopefully that'll finish her off. So, I'm a big fan of just getting the Dahan out. I'm not exactly a role player with this game. But I like my guys to be doing well, put it that way. It'd be nice because if I'm using Wash Away, I mean I could just I definitely am going to be able to destroy these guys in here this turn, and it's probably going to be full reclaim and then do the same again next turn. So Boon of Vigor on itself. We've got a Flash Floods. That's actually doesn't really matter. Oh yeah, we do need to do it in here. So I'm gonna hit the city, and that damage will stick around. That's just basic Spirit Island business. And let's put this town in, and then we can wash it into here before we clear this area. Doesn't matter where I put it, I don't think. Oh, it did matter because now this guy explored. Never mind. Just playing too fast and loose, peasant. And I've just realised that the looseness was such that I picked a blight removal card that I can use. Oh my god! And now my ordering is going to hell. Okay, settle down now, peasant. It's okay. Let's push this guy in here. Let's River's Bounty in here. So this is something I quite like as well, is if you have a space that might at some point become a problem, you can just stack it with Dahan, and then they'll kind of deal with the problem for you. And I've just completely cleared that space there, and then we can Song of Sanctity, get rid of that blight. And this game is won. It is won. So next thing we need to do here is clear this area. So it's going to be another Reclaim All. And then we obviously can't do it in the fast phase because we need to clear all this stuff here. So we have to gain a card. We don't have enough to go major. Oh yeah, you can actually see the deck there, which is a pretty nice touch. And don't think this matters particularly. I suppose for style points, I could remove some additional blight. Because, you know, why not? Why not? So we need to Flash Floods. That's an important part. That's what means that our 2 damage to everything actually kills a city. And then we just need the yellow and blues to get the job done. But we are actually up to 5 actions now, so it should be relatively easy to get this. So I actually just need a mountain, is that right? That is right. So we could go with Steam Vince, which will be, we will be completely clearing the board this turn, hopefully. Well, actually, probably not, because there will be an Explore. So maybe I'll go with Wash Away there. Actually, can I just clear this turn? Maybe, actually, if we Wash Away... No, this isn't adjacent to there. Okay, the game might go on a little bit. One of the general criticisms of Spirit Island is that the end can be a little bit anticlimactic. I would strongly disagree with this misdiagnosis of the game. Because basically that typically happens if you're playing it on way too easy a difficulty, and that is what's happening here. But deliberately, because I'm trying to review the game at the same time as play it. Okay, first fear card. And it's quite cool, the game will just auto-resolve them if there's no... You know, if there's nothing to do, no decision to make, it will just kind of run through. We're into the age 3 things here, so now we should be in a position to clear this area, which might even get us to game end. Yeah, it should do. It should be a win. But we will just remove this, tidy up this blight, because we don't want that. We want to make it nice here. Just do a bit of breeding, and we can massively run it. That should be game. That should be game. Because we've now triggered the condition of there being no buildings, and there are no buildings. So yeah, that was a very quick playthrough, and you can kind of see, you know, I was just trying to demonstrate. So I'm just going to wrap this up, go to my incredible finish screen. The verdict: the Spirit Island digital experience is 9 out of 10. It's fantastic. There is more content on the way. They've just released the DLC, the promo DLC, with 2 extra spirits. I'd recommend them. It's not like some games where you get promos and they're just a bit like, what? They're actually well balanced and interesting. So yeah, I'd say it's a well thought out, continually improved version. So I did get this pretty much on launch in early access, and they have just been making great little improvements here and there. One thing I would say is that if you're not a fan of Spirit Island, this is not going to change that. There are that I think apps that do that exist. Through the Ages is my one, where I can't really face the physical game, but the digital version is awesome. And the one thing that holds a lot of people back from buying this is that it lacks multiplayer right now. There are workarounds, and in fact, if you check out Handelabra, who are the devs, they stream Spirit Island regularly, playing it multiplayer, but they have to do some shenanigans to do it. So I highly recommend this game in both physical and digital form, and that is pretty much my review. So thank you so much for watching. Any feedback would be great. As you might be able to tell, I'm pretty new to this whole reviewing stuff thing. So yeah, thanks for being here. It's super recommended, and I'll catch you next time. Oh yeah, gotta look at the camera. Not my thing over there. Bye.